This happened in 2022 when I was working a second job as a part-time Uber driver in a smaller city in the Midwest. I was trying to save up some extra money to move out of my parents' place, and weekend nights were when I made the most. The city wasn't huge, but there was enough nightlife to keep me busy with pickups and drop-offs between downtown bars, residential areas, and the small college campus on the north side of town. I'd gotten used to the routine. Most rides were uneventful, some drunk passengers and some awkward ones, some who talked too much and others who didn't say a word. But one night, I picked up a rider that still keeps me up when I think about it. It was just after 12:30 a.m. on a Friday. I had been driving for a few hours and was considering wrapping up for the night when I got a ping from a location about 10 minutes away. The name on the request was Nina. The pickup spot was odd. It was on the edge of an industrial area that wasn't close to any apartments, restaurants, or nightlife. Mostly old factories, office parks, and empty warehouses. I figured maybe someone had car trouble or was leaving a late-night shift. I accepted and drove to the location. My GPS led me down a narrow road that curved behind a large warehouse building. There were no lights or signage, just the glow of my headlights bouncing off a rusted chain-link fence and a row of trees behind it. My phone said I had arrived, but I didn't see anyone. I slowed to a crawl and leaned toward the passenger window, trying to spot any movement in the shadows. Just as I was about to cancel the ride, a woman stepped out from behind a utility box about 15 feet ahead. She walked toward the car slowly. Her head was down. She had long, dark hair that partially covered her face, and she was wearing a heavy coat with the hood up, even though it was late spring and unusually warm that night. I unlocked the doors, and she got in the back seat without saying anything. I asked, "Nina?" and she nodded once. Her voice was so quiet I could barely hear her when she apologized about the location. She said she didn't want to wait by the road. Her tone was flat, almost rehearsed. I started driving. The drop-off was listed as an address on the far south side of town, nearly a 35-minute drive. The entire time, she didn't speak. I tried asking if she had a good night or if she needed to adjust the air. Basic questions, but she didn't respond. She just stared out the window with her hood still pulled forward. I tried not to think much of it. Some people are quiet or socially anxious. Still, I couldn't shake the weird feeling I had. There was something off about her presence in the car. I kept checking the rearview mirror, and each time, she looked like she hadn't moved. Hands in her lap, face slightly tilted away. About 20 minutes into the ride, we passed a gas station with bright overhead lights. As we drove past, I got a brief, clear look at her face in the mirror. That's when I realized she looked strange. She looked really pale and sickly. Her eyes were wide open, and I swear they didn't seem to focus on anything. She looked like someone who had been through something traumatic, or someone who hadn't slept in days. I assumed she must have just been exhausted. Maybe she'd had a rough night. But then I looked at the app and noticed something odd. The destination pin had changed slightly. It was still in the same general area, but the street name had updated. I didn't remember seeing a notification, so I asked if she updated her drop-off, and she said no. But her voice sounded more awake this time. I said it looks like the address changed, and she didn't reply. I kept driving, now watching the directions more closely. Another 10 minutes passed. We were now in a very rural part of the city. Sparse houses, large wooded lots, barely any lights. The kind of area where people have long driveways and thick trees hiding the homes. I pulled up to the new destination, a narrow dirt road off the side of a county route, surrounded by woods. My phone said this was the place, but there were no visible buildings, just trees and shadows. I stopped the car. "This is it?" I asked. She didn't answer. I turned around, and the back seat was empty. No one there. The door behind me was still closed. The handle hadn't moved. I hadn't heard anything. She was just gone. I froze. I looked at the seat. No indentation and no sign anyone had been sitting there. My heart started racing. I got out and looked around the car. Nothing. I called out, "Hello?" No response. I opened the back door and checked the footwell. Completely empty. I looked at my phone and saw that the trip was still active. The timer was running. The destination was marked complete, and the rating screen had popped up. I backed out of the dirt road and drove until I found a gas station with a lit-up lot. I parked there, just trying to calm down. My hands were shaking. I went into my trip history to see if I could verify what happened, but the trip was gone. Not just the recent one, all of them. My entire log was blank. I closed and reopened the app. Same thing. It looked like I hadn't driven at all that night. I checked my earnings tab. 0. I know what I experienced. I remember the way her voice sounded, the way she stared out the window, the moment her face caught the light, and I realized something about her wasn't right. I remember the way it felt when I turned around and saw the seat was empty. The next morning, I went back to the area during daylight. I followed the same route, found the same dirt road, and pulled in again. It led about 30 feet into the trees and ended in a clearing, but there was nothing there. No house, no driveway, no mailbox. Just an old concrete slab with weeds growing through it, like there used to be something there years ago. I asked a local mechanic at a shop nearby if he knew who owned that property. He said it used to be a farmhouse, but it burned down over a decade ago. He said a woman had lived there, alone. I didn't respond. I just thanked him and walked out. I haven't driven for Uber since that night. I deleted the app a week later and never looked back. But sometimes when I drive at night, just for errands or late runs, I find myself checking the rearview mirror, and every now and then, I think I see a shadow where there shouldn't be one, like someone sitting there, waiting. Pale face, dark hood, and silent. So, while I think this story was genuinely unsettling, I think it feels more like something you'd find on the No Sleep subreddit. I do like sprinkling in some paranormal stories from time to time, but this one just felt like the paranormal factor was a little more intense. And even though it's a well-written, creepy story, these are the kinds of stories that get mixed opinions and skepticism from viewers. And that's why ultimately I ended up deciding not to use it in my upcoming Uber video.